Hi friends, Steve here at Glen Haven Cemetery or Memorial Park here in Sylmar, California. Last year in December of 2019, I came here for the first time to visit the gravesite of actress and dancer Vera Ellen for my White Christmas vlog. For those of you who might have missed that video, I'll put a link down below so you can watch it after finishing this one. This is a pretty rural area of the San Fernando Valley, and driving along the country road to get here, I actually passed more horses on the road than cars. So in a way, it's a bit surprising to find so many famous people buried here. Time sure does fly, and it's been nearly 6 months since I showed you Vera Ellen's gravesite, so today I'm going to finally share with you the other famous gravesites that I also visited here that day. You may remember the huge Sylmar earthquake back, I think it was in the 1970s. That's where this cemetery is located. And today, I'm here in front of the final resting place of Rosemary Guy. Remember Rosemary? She played Sally Rogers on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Remember Sally and Buddy? Two of the best TV sidekicks of all time. Her gravesite does have a GPS, so it's pretty easy to find, and it's a pretty small cemetery here. In fact, let me just pan around, and you can see. So a good landmark to find her gravesite is this, I don't know if it's a chapel or a mausoleum, but it's at the top of the hill, so she's almost at the very top of the circle. This is just one big circle, and if you look at the map before you come, you'll see it's small and pretty easy to find most of the graves, which is rare. And it's definitely making my day. For a change, the graves are pretty easy to find. I remember Rosemary from one of my favorite TV shows from the 1960s, the Dick Van Dyke Show. She played the very spunky TV gag writer Sally Rogers from 1961 to 1966, and then later I also remember that she spent 14 years as a panelist on the TV show Hollywood Squares. I had no idea until I recently watched her 2017 documentary film, Wait for Your Laugh, that she had started way back in the days of vaudeville at around the age of 3. She got her start and had her very first success in show business as a singer called Baby Rosemary. She was a huge star here in the US before Shirley Temple was even born. She went on to have one of the longest careers in show business, which lasted nearly 10 decades, performing in theater, in nightclubs, on the radio, in recordings, in movies, and on TV. She died in Van Nuys, California, which is not that far from the cemetery, from natural causes on December 28, 2017, at the age of 94. Unfortunately, I didn't watch her documentary until after my visit to the cemetery, so sadly I didn't know that her husband Bobby Guy is buried here next to her to the left. If I had known that this was his gravesite, I would have wiped away all of the dirt. Bobby Guy was a well-known trumpet player who played with Kay Kaiser, Louis Armstrong, Hoagie Carmichael, and was even the first trumpeter on The Tonight Show. He died in Los Angeles at the young age of 48 from a rare blood infection on May 27, 1964. If you haven't yet seen the documentary, I highly recommend it. It's one of the most interesting show business bios that I've ever watched. I'm standing here behind a tree in the shade, trying to block out the wind, and also getting a little bit of shade here. And now I'm at the gravesite of actress Emily McLaughlin. She joined the cast of the TV soap opera General Hospital in 1963. She played registered nurse Jessie Brewer on the show, and I believe she was a regular on the show for nearly 30 years. And she's laid to rest next to her husband, Jeffrey Hunter. Before his career was tragically cut short at the young age of 42, Hunter appeared in more than 50 movies and nearly 20 TV shows. Star Trek fans will remember that he played Captain Christopher Pike in the TV series pilot, but turned down the role when the TV series was picked up. While shooting a film in Spain, he was injured during an accident on the set and was left with a concussion. After returning home, he fell and hit his head and died on May 27, 1969 from his head injuries. He was only 42 years old, and he had just married McLaughlin a few months prior to his death. McLaughlin died from cancer at the age of 62 in Los Angeles on April 22, 1991. So how many of you remember Jeffrey Hunter and Emily McLaughlin? Hunter and McLaughlin are laid to rest in the olive section of the cemetery. I never watched General Hospital, but so many of you have asked me to visit the gravesites of soap opera actors, so that's why I'm here today. And I have to say that many years ago, I was a huge fan of All My Children. That was the only soap opera I ever watched. And I just got hooked because of a friend of mine, a roommate, who she loved it. And every day when we'd eat lunch, it was on at noon. And so we would eat lunch and watch All My Children. And soap operas can be very addicting. I had no idea. Another actress who played a registered nurse on TV is laid to rest in the Poplars section of the cemetery. From 1954 to 1955, actress Ella Raines starred in the early medical drama Janet Dean, Registered Nurse. And I just watched an episode on YouTube starring a young Salminio. To be honest, even though she appeared in more than 20 movies, had her own TV show, has 2 stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and appeared on the cover of Life magazine twice, I had never heard of Ella Raines. That's one of the reasons I enjoy these trips down memory lane so much. You just never know who you're going to run into along the way. So how many of you remember Ella Raines? At the beginning of this video, I mentioned the West Wing Chapel Terrace Mausoleum that's located just up the hill from Rose Marie's gravesite. And this is where actor Stanley Andrews is laid to rest. He's here in the open-air courtyard just before you enter into the mausoleum there. What's really nice about this is it's open to the sky, which I think is nice. There's a beautiful view of the mountains and the cemetery down below. This is the very top of the cemetery. It's also very windy, so hopefully you can hear me. Stanley Andrews was the very first host of the long-running TV show Death Valley Days. I'm sure all of you fans will remember that it was on the air for nearly 20 years. We definitely loved our Western TV shows back in the day, didn't we? Andrews was the host from 1952 to 1964 until he was replaced by actor Ronald Reagan, who hosted from 1964 to 1966. A year later, Reagan left show business for politics, and in 1967 became governor of the state of California. 14 years later, he became president of the United States. But that's a story for another vlog. Andrews appeared in more than 250 movies during his long career, and was also well known for his role as Daddy Warbucks on the radio program Little Orphan Annie from 1931 to 1936. He died in Los Angeles at the age of 77 on June 23, 1969. And this week I'd like to thank my latest Patreon supporters, Peterborough K and Glenn Ashworth. Thanks so much, Peterborough and Glenn, for your very generous contributions to this channel. They really do help make future trips like this possible and are very appreciated. So if you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with a friend. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done that, and click the bell icon if you want to be notified when I upload future videos like this one. And if you did like today's vlog, I've got plenty more, like these here. So until our next trip to the graveyard together, thanks for sharing the memories, everyone.